everybody, welcome. I am Misty Down with Missouri Star Quilt Company.
Hi, everyone.
I'm so happy to be with you on this one.
Here with you on this fabulous Tuesday morning. I hope you all are having a great day. It is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. It is Star Wars Day.
Woo-hoo!
So we're very excited. As usual, I have Liz behind the camera. Let's see where we have people tuning in from, huh? We have Kathy from Georgia, Amy from Ohio, Pat from Alabama. Paula says, good morning from Kansas. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous day. Liz, who do you have over there on your end?
I've got Nikki from Arkansas. I've got Kathy Carroll says hello from Minnesota. Hello. And Suzanne says hello, Zizi. And we've got good afternoon from Scotland.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
All around the world.
Just wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. We are super excited because it is May the 4th. It is Star Wars Day. We let that inspire our project a little bit for the day. I have a few photos to share. I like to say that I come by my geekdom naturally. It runs strong in the family. My dad is actually here, and he raised us on Star Wars. So, and we're
raised
also
you right.
He did, and we're also very crafty. So I have a picture of a Mandalorian helmet my brother has made for himself. So this is his craft project he's been sharing with me.
Coolest.
He 3D printed that and is very proud of his work. It is life size. He wears it. So shout out to my brother Zach for that on Star Wars Day. And I also thought I would share a picture from when we went as a company, when we were out Road to California a few years back, prior to all of this COVID craziness. I got to visit Star Wars Land at Disneyland. And so that was me, very excited to be standing in front of the Millennium Falcon. So super, super fun. It was a really, really fun day. And so I just thought I would share those little things with you. And before we dive into today's project, which is also Star Wars themed. So we are using these two great prints. Both of them are Mandalorian fabrics. One is this kind of comic book style, which I think is really fun.
Super love it.
And one is Mando and the Child, you know.
That's
so
right.
Really, really fun. We're going to be making a toy keeper, is what I like to call it. And I made these for my kids years and years ago. This is my original one. It was also Star Wars. You can see it's been well loved. But we've whipped up a new one today. And let me show you what this is. So it's got this string that's wrapped around it. And then you can release the cord, and this will lay completely flat.
This is just so clever.
It's really fun. And so if you have kiddos who like to play with Hot Wheels cars or Legos or anything like this, this gives them a nice big flat surface where they can still play. I actually saw someone make this, there's so many great novelty prints. I saw someone make it in like a road fabric.
Oh,
and so
neat.
Once it was all opened, their little ones could drive their cars all along the road, which I thought was a great idea. But it just makes cleanup really easy. If you are a Lego mom, as I am, you know how daunting it can be once the Lego bucket gets spilled. And so
nobody wants to step on a Lego.
Nobody wants to step on a Lego. So this is perfect. You can just kind of scoop them all back up into this, and then you just grab the end and cinch it all up. And it just makes it really easy to store. My kiddos just throw it in their closet. And so that's what we're going to make today. It's really easy. What you need is 1 1/4 yards of, two coordinating prints, or not coordinating if you want very different options. But I think this is a great project to use those really fun novelty prints, because that's what kids love.
That's right.
So you're going to need
kids
that.
at heart.
Exactly. You're also going to need 4 yards of some type of like heavy duty string or rope. We use this 1/4 inch twill tape that we have available. And then also some of these cord stops. And they come in a 2-pack. And I think the twill tape comes in like an 8-yard pack. So you actually get enough to make 2 if you want to buy double the fabric and make these for a gift. And then you'll just want to make sure you have a nice big safety pin on hand to string your cord through at the end. But let's talk about how we make this, because it is honestly so easy. So what I have here is I have cut down my 1 1/4 yard cuts of both fabrics. So I've got this one here and this one here. You can see that, and I have them stacked up so that my folds are all on the same side and I have my corners matching. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark a nice big quarter circle. And so I've got my nice long 24-inch ruler here, but the measurement I'm actually looking for is 21 inches. So from this center corner on my left-hand side is where we're going to start marking. And so I've got this great, what is it, a multi-mark tool?
Yep, a multi-mark pencil.
Multi-mark pencil, and I love this because you can actually change, there's different like marking chalk in here, so depending on your fabric color, you can select whatever color you think will show up the best.
Nice.
It's very versatile and helpful, and so I have it on yellow. I find it shows up really well, and I'm just going to make a mark right here at that 21 inches. I know this might be hard for you to see on camera, so what I want to do is just use a Sharpie so that you guys can see it. Obviously, at home, you can probably see it just fine with this, but I just wanted to explain why I'm using a Sharpie. And honestly, if you want to use a Sharpie, it's fine because it's going to be in the seam allowance. So it's really no big deal. So we're just going to start here by making a mark at 21 inches, and then I'm going to slowly pivot and just make a few marks. I really want to have them pretty close together so they're easy to follow, and just make sure that I'm keeping this bottom corner right on that 21 as I move it, so that my circle stays as straight as possible. And just keep doing that.
And so you can make these marks as close or as far apart as you are comfortable with, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Perfect.
You just want to have a guide to follow once we start cutting.
So, and lots of happy May the 4th, and
Yes.
May the 4th be with you. And also May the 4th as in the quarter inch. So May the 4th be with you as well.
That. I have not heard that, but yes, May the 4th and May that elusive quarter inch, right? That we're always striving for.
And yes, we're going to press to the dark side today, guys.
Yes, we are. I love it. Okay, we're almost there. You can see I'm just moving this an inch or two and making a new mark right at the end of the ruler, all the way to the edge. And now I'm going to go back and just kind of connect those marks because I want to be able to see where I'm headed. And so I'm just going to roughly draw from point to point so I can see where I'm headed. You can see this is not perfect, but it's going to be good enough. There we go, and come back this way.
Yep, and this is why we're using the Sharpie, so you guys can definitely see it on camera.
Yep, I wanted to make sure you could see what I'm doing. That marking tool works great, and if it's just your eyes, I have no trouble seeing it, but I thought it would be a little tricky for you guys. So there you go. You can see my quarter circle is marked there, and like I said, I have all of my fabrics stacked up. And so this is an opportunity where if you want to put a few pins in to keep it from shifting, because you are going to be dealing with quite a few layers here.
Okay.
So let's just, now that we have it marked before we do any cutting, we want everything to stay together.
And just a couple questions while you're doing that. So Shannon's asking a yard of both fabrics. We're actually using a 1.25 yards.
Yes, and so we went with 1.25 yards because the width of fabric is wider than a yard. And so you could, if you wanted to just do a yard, you could opt for that, but your measurement would be a little bit smaller because you want a perfect circle when you finish up. And so by getting 1.25 yards, that allows us to measure that 21 inches both directions. And so that's what we're looking for. So just a little over a yard. And now I've got my last pin in here. And if you wanted to, this is a lot of layers, so I don't recommend it, but you could very carefully use your rotary cutter. I'm just going to use my scissors. And if you need to, just take your time and go slow. Just make sure they're nice and sharp. And I'm just going to cut through right on that line that I drew. And it just take your time. Every once in a while, it's nice to remember that we can still work our scissors.
That's right. Sometimes they're the perfect tool for the job.
They are, and I find that for this one, they are. As long as they're good and sharp. You certainly don't want dull scissors when you have this many layers, and if you are having trouble, you can just cut through, you know, one section at a time and leave your bottom section, like let me show you here. Like I've got just this first print, I could just keep cutting here.
Aha.
And then you're not dealing with quite so much bulk. Move this a little closer. There we go. And then we can come back and just follow that edge.
Smart. Okay.
So don't feel like you have to cut through all the layers if it makes you nervous. You just want them to be as close to the same shape and same cuts as possible, which is why we have them all pinned together.
Okay.
So there is that. So we can set this aside. There's actually some pretty good chunks of fabric there, so you could save it for a little project if you wanted to, make a little throw pillow or something to go along with it. So let's go ahead and pull our pins out now. I thought I had one more in there. Oh, there it is. It was hiding from me.
It'll catch you.
It will. All right, let me set this stuff out of the way. There we go. Make sure we have plenty of room to work here. So now we're going to open up our circles. And you can see how great that turned out. We've got this nice big circle. And we're going to set these right sides together now.
Mm-hmm. So what you've done is you've cut them, they were folded in half and then in half again. So you mark the quarter circle.
Exactly.
And now we're spreading out. You've got the whole circle.
Whole circle. And we're going to put these right sides together. And this particular print happens to be directional. And this one technically is as well. And so I just put them both the same way, but I realized after the fact, you're never going to see each side together. And so it's not really a huge deal. But if you are also very linear like I tend to be, you can just line them up so they're going the same way. It's totally fine.
Do what works for your brain, right?
Exactly.
If your brain insists on symmetry, you can go for symmetry.
And so now we're just going to line these guys up. And it is because you're working with this nice large circle. You've got a 42-inch circle here in diameter. It can be a bit cumbersome to work with, but just take your time. And this is an instance where pins are your friend. And so I'm going to start up here and make sure that things are lining up nicely and they look good. And I'm going to begin by putting a pin. Let me make sure you guys can see. I'll pull this down just a little bit. I'm going to put a pin about 2 inches apart, so one here and one here. And I'm doing this because I want to leave an opening to add my drawstring. So this is where I don't want to sew later on. Okay. So that's just a note to my brain to make sure to stop. And then I'm going to go through and pin the rest of this. And you do want to take some time and make it as straight as possible on the edge. It might not be perfect, but as long as you're within that 1/4 inch, and because we had it all lined up together, it should be really, really close. So you just have to kind of follow along as you go and put a few pins in there to hold everything in place. There we go. And we'll just work our way around. Do we have any questions, Liz, while I'm pinning?
Let me check. So we're saying hi from a lot of folks and happy May the 4th.
Oh, good.
Be with you. We do have a couple questions. What type of scissors are you using? And Sharon also says, I love the sound of that scissor cutting fabric.
Oh, that's awesome. So these are the Elon scissors. We carry these here at Missouri Star. They are my favorite. They're very sharp. And they just cut beautifully, so that's what I keep on hand. And the other reason I like them is they're not too heavy. I find a lot of the wonderful like dressmaking shears that are great for cutting get really heavy if I have to make a lot of cuts, and so I like that these are still lightweight. So that's why they're the scissors that I choose. And Jenny likes them as well.
Good call.
All right. We're almost all the way around. We're just making our way around, making sure that everything is pinned in place so we don't have to fidget with it too much at the machine. This is the last little bit here. Have it all lined up. There's our last pin.
Okay. And Judy says, Misty, you're making this look way too easy. Judy, it is easy.
It is
I
easy.
promise.
It
It's
is
actually
not
nice and easy.
hard. This is super simple. All right, so we've got pins all the way around. They are lined up and ready to go. And so now we're going to begin our stitching just on the other side of where we put that start and stop pin. Remember, we put these 2 inches apart, so we're going to leave an opening on this outside edge of stitching. And so we want to make sure that we back stitch when we start and at the end. So that's what we're going to do now.
And I like how you made your pins kind of face a different direction. So
I do that for my brain. So it's like, no, this is not the normal thing. Make sure you pay attention to this. So I kind of have them pointing in toward the project so I don't forget. All right, remember that back stitch? And so now, because this is such a big circle, I find it's really easy. I just keep this hand kind of off to the side and this hand a little bit farther back, and I'm just going to start stitching, and I'm going to be watching and slowly turning this as I start stitching. Oops, I've got a thread stuck here. Let's get that out of the way so that doesn't get caught for you. But we don't want to pull on the fabric or push it. We just, now that we have it all pinned, we just want to try and keep that 1/4 inch seam and just follow it in. And you might have to take some time and readjust your fabric. That's okay. And we can pivot again.
And as you're going, Becky Tipton has a great tip. She says, when I'm leaving an opening for elastic or drawstring, I put 2 pins at the start and stop. 2 pins together gets my attention. So
That's smart.
whatever works for your brain, just let yourself know you're going to leave an opening so that you can thread that cord through.
All right.
Oh, Brandy has a good tip too. She says, I'm thinking this would make some great Christmas gift wrap.
I think, oh, that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Totally. You could just hide a toy right in there. That's a great idea. Multi-use. We love gift wrap we don't have to throw away.
That's right.
All right. Just
And
taking my
Stacy's
time.
wondering, would this work well with flannel?
I think it totally would work well with flannel. Totally.
Okay.
Actually, I think the flannel might be great because the fibers of that kind of holds together. So once you flip it, I think it would really nestle in there nicely.
Cool deal.
Oh, that reminds me. I was supposed to tell you to leave an opening for flipping because we go back and top stitch because you need bigger than just that opening. That was almost close, you guys.
Okay.
So we're going to stop. We're going to back stitch here. We're not back to the beginning yet, but we're going to back stitch again. And over here, we're going to leave about a 6-inch opening to turn this. So I'm just going to skip a little ways. I just got too excited. This happens all the time, doesn't it?
I don't think you're alone there, Misty.
No.
I think we all get excited.
We all
and
get
just start
excited and
going.
get ahead of ourselves, and it is what it is. But we caught it in time.
Yep.
Didn't have to pick anything out, right?
Right. That's a win.
So we'll count that a win. All right.
So just to recap, for if you missed it, we're leaving now like a 6-inch, a little bit bigger than your hand.
Yep.
Opening so we can turn the whole thing.
Yep. And you just don't want it to be right next to where your drawstring opening is. So you can see I've left this opening over here. That's going to be for us to turn it. This is plenty big.
Yep.
But I just want to make sure we're not fighting with it.
Perfect.
And then we'll go back and we will stitch that down later. All right, and we have almost made it to our other end. All right, coming back up to my second set of double pins. I'm actually going to pull that one out of the way so that as I come in there, I can back stitch. And then let's pull these pins out. Oh, okay. I did have one get stuck in there when I was making the last one, and so after I flipped it, I got poked. So you just always want to triple check and make sure you get all of those pins out before you turn it. See, there's one hiding. Sometimes these fun novelty fabrics, because they have so much color, our pins can get hidden in there.
Yeah,
so
they can blend in.
Yeah. So just take an extra minute and make sure you have all those out. Go all the way around.
Now, I will say, Sue, Kelly, and a couple of others have pointed out, because we're looking at what's going to be a very long drawstring.
Yeah.
You might want to make sure this is not necessary for very small children.
Exactly. This is more for, you know, older kids.
Yes.
No, not babies. So,
Right.
so for sure, that's definitely something we should point out. And so now we've got this nice big opening, and we can just turn this whole thing right sides out. And we don't have to fight with it. There we go.
It's so bright and happy.
It is, isn't it? And so there is my opening where we're going to have our drawstring pop through. And now I just kind of like to take this to the ironing board, and I kind of keep my hand inside and make a nice edge and then give it a press. And I just kind of alternate between having my hand in there and using it on top to kind of roll that out, because we want to have a nice smooth edge all the way around our circle. You can kind of just roll those seams and have everything lay flat. So there's that. And I just kind of work my way around.
And you're just kind of rolling it with your finger and your
Yep,
thumb.
exactly, until I can see it kind of settle in to place. And this, honestly, is the most time-consuming part, is pressing this edge. But it is not hard. We all can iron just fine. It's just not always our favorite thing, although I find it to be a little relaxing. I enjoy pressing.
It's funny because I would never say that about pressing my clothes, but I do find it really like cathartic to press my quilts.
Yeah,
My sewing
absolutely.
projects.
Well, and if you're pressing fun, happy fabric,
Right.
it's a little different, more enjoyable. But just make sure you're doing a little bit at a time, because it is such a large circle. You want to really get it nice and smooth on all those edges. And so just take your time on this. There's really no way to, or no way that I've found anyway. Maybe you guys have some tips on pressing circles. But for me, I haven't found a great way to speed this process up. It just is what it is.
It just takes the time it takes.
Yep.
And so I'm just going to recap a little bit of how we got to where we are for those of you who are just joining and asking what
Yeah.
we're working on. We're making a playmat, and so today is May the 4th, and so this is the way to make a playmat.
That's right.
We're using Mandalorian fabric to celebrate the day, but your novelty fabrics, your fabrics are super kid-friendly and fun. And what this does is it lays down flat so you can play, and then it will have a drawstring that we're going to add that will let it cinch up and hold all the toys inside.
Exactly.
So what we've done is fold our 2 cuts of fabric that are 1.25 yards each. We fold them in half and then in half again and stacked them. And then Misty used her ruler to measure from the corner so that we got a 1/4 circle. When she cut that with scissors, we ended up with 2 great big, see, do my math, 21 plus 2 is 42-inch circles.
Yep. Yep, nice big circles.
And then pinned them around the circle. We left a 2-inch spot for the drawstring and a 6-inch spot to flip this once we stitched all the way around, kind of stitching it like turning a record.
Exactly.
And now we're pressing around the outside,
All
which
the
is
way.
just that little time-consuming process, but like you see, it's real nice and easy.
Yep.
Just a little piece at a time. And
And
you can
we
make
are
this
almost there.
any size you like. We're doing this great big size today, but you can definitely make this any size you need for the toy that you need to make it for. And then we're going to next step, add our drawstring.
Exactly. And so now we've reached that big opening that we left to turn it. So I'm just going to take a minute and make sure that I have this fabric turned under, on both sides, at least that 1/4 inch, so that it will not have any raw edges poking out. So I've got that bottom one done. And then let's turn this top print as well. And you can just see I'm kind of rolling that under to meet it as I go. And now we are almost to the other side. We are so close to finishing the pressing. And all the way around. I think this is the last little spot.
Woohoo!
And then we can move on. All right, so the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to find, again, that little opening that you left. And I'm going to go ahead and put a pin at the start and stop again, just because we do not want to sew that closed. That is the part we need to stay open so that we can get our drawstring through. And so there's my 2 pins. And we're just going to now top stitch less than a 1/4 inch right close to that edge all the way around. And I wish I could fast forward through this, but we're live, so this is just how it goes. So again, remembering to back stitch, we'll just zoom through. And this top stitch is to catch that opening that we left to turn. And so that's part of why we're doing this step. It'll make sure that all of those edges are enclosed. And I think it also helps strengthen the stitches when we put that drawstring in, since we're going to have lots of pulling and tugging on the fabric.
And there's a link in our description for all the supplies you would need if you'd like to. Our supplies are available on the Missouri Star website. And if you're not already subscribed, you should subscribe so you don't miss another episode.
Absolutely, yes. So many good things. Because this is pressed so nicely, it's really quick to just zoom through. We're coming up to that area where we do have our opening, and so I just want to make sure that I've got that all lined up as I approach the needle, so I can get it all secured.
And Terry has a good idea. For smaller children, you can make a mat with no string and then make a smaller bag using elastic to close it.
That's true. That's a great idea.
Love these, how you guys share tips with us too. And show us what you make. So if you use hashtag MSQC show and tell, then we can see your projects too.
Absolutely. All right. Now that I've closed up that opening, I can zoom all the way around. Make sure I've got the bulk where I want it. Reposition your hands as needed. Oop, I got one little spot where it looks like a raw edge flipped out. I didn't catch it on my initial seam, but it's okay. I can fix it now.
Right.
It's the beauty of this. I can tuck it right inside. And now no one will ever know. We are so close. This little side kind of rumpled, so I'm just going to smooth that out again. And here's my other pin, so I know it's almost time to stop. And back stitch. There we go. All right, so now all we need to do is we're going to do another line of stitching about 1 inch inside of that one. And so let me show you on this finished bag. We can open this all up again because it's the exact same idea. You can either, if you have a mark on your machine, you can follow that all the way around. I just have this, the plate of my machine. I use the edge of that kind of as my guide. when I was making mine. So either you can use a reference point on your machine, you can put an extra piece of tape or something as your guide, but you just want it about an inch, or if you have an extra thick piece of cord, you might need a little bit more room. You just don't want it to be too hard to string that through. No reason to make it any harder on ourselves than it has to be.
That's right, but also it doesn't have to be perfect.
Exactly, exactly. So you can see here what I mean. Here's our top stitch that we just did. And then we've got our next line of stitching about an inch inside. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
And so that's what you're going to want to do next. You're going to take and do that next line of stitching all the way through.
And this time you don't have to leave the 2-inch opening.
Nope, you're going all the way because you
Okay.
want that inside part to be closed. Good call, Liz. Absolutely. You want that to be closed. And then you're going to need that 4 yards if you want it to absolutely lay flat. You need 4 yards of whatever string or rope you're going to use for that. We've used this 1/4 inch twill tape. And you're just going to use a big safety pin, poke it through the end, and feed it all the way through.
Yep.
Just like you would any project. And then we can slide these cord stops on at the end. And it just comes together so quick. And so you can see here, let me show you one more time how it lays completely flat. So you get the full vision. Here's our 4 yards that went all the way through. I did go ahead and just turn these under and top stitch them,
okay.
just so I didn't have any fraying, you know, just a little added detail. Can you see that? Zoom in there. I don't know if you can see it or not. There you go.
There you go.
Just turn it under. Just a tiny little bit just to do that. And then here's you can see it just slides through the opening in the cord locks. And so that slides all the way to the end. And then now we can lay this completely flat on a table or the floor, wherever your kiddos are playing, and you have plenty of room for them to have all their goodies and play, and it makes cleanup so easy.
Love it.
And so that is really as simple as it is. We're just sewing some big circles together and putting a drawstring in it, but my kiddos love it, and I like how easy it makes cleanup. So now that you've done it, because you do have such a long cord, I recommend just kind of gathering up your fabric and just twisting it all around there so you're not dealing with this getting tangled on things. It makes it easier. And so then you can just kind of tuck that in on itself and it's all good to go.
Fabulous.
All your action figures or Legos or Hot Wheels are all stored and ready. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you have a wonderful May 4th. Are there any questions before we hop off?
You could just tie a knot at the end of the cord if you don't want to use the cord stop.
Absolutely.
No worries.
Yep, my original version just has some knots in it, you can see.
Perfect.
This very well-loved original bag. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy this. I love the idea of using this as a gift wrapping for Christmas time. So keep that in your back pocket and have a wonderful May the 4th. We will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.